do you not give everything away? How do you know how much to give away in the first place? Now, when you are launching a digital product, you are going to be creating lots of content in terms of blog posts or videos or emails or maybe even webinar slides. So how do you create that content without having that encroach on your paid content? This is a question that may be on your minds, and I know it's in the minds of a lot of people, which is why I wanted to include that point in this video. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the painful lessons I've learned along the way about launching and creating a digital product that actually sells. So if you're launching a product or if you have one that isn't really doing well, we are going to talk about the key things you need to consider. Now, there are tons of reasons why a digital product will fail. We are going to look at it from two different angles. The internal angle, which is the product itself and you, as well as the external angle. The external angle has everything to do with bringing the product out there to your audience. So let's talk about the internal angle first. The number one consideration is, do you perhaps have a terrible offer? So you can have a fantastic product, but a terrible offer. So what exactly is an offer? An offer is the packaging of your product. So when I'm talking about packaging, I'm not talking about your colors or the pretty fonts that you're using or your worksheets. I'm not talking about any of that. All right. The main thing I'm talking about when it comes to packaging is how have you framed the benefit or outcome of this offer? So let's take the example of a mattress. A mattress can be positioned as something to give you a good night's sleep, or a mattress can be positioned as something to give you some kind of lumbar support or something to help you if you have chronic back pain. Same mattress, two different ways of packaging that very mattress. So the angle or the frame that you pick for your product has to be something that your audience values the most. So when you're talking about outcomes, there are a couple of different outcomes, right? So take a look at the digital products around you. What outcomes do they promise? What frames do they have to package their products? Some products help you cut time, some help to reduce more of a negative result, some help to get more of a positive result. So this could be getting more money or getting more clients or getting more speaking gigs. All right. You could also have outcomes such as making a task easier or getting started with something. Now, your product can have a few different outcomes, but the one that you want to pick is the one that your audience values the most. Now, packaging is also about how you are different from the other similar products that are out there. So I did another video that talks about validation, and one key indicator of a product being validated is that there are other similar products in the marketplace. There are other competitors who are creating similar products like this, because this shows that there is a demand for this particular offer, okay, or this particular digital product. But that doesn't mean that you create what everyone else is creating. You need to make your product stand out, all right? And this doesn't mean that you have to create something that is extremely original that no one has created before. That should not be what you're doing. But you also need to have a point of difference for your offer. You versus others. Why should someone pick you? You need to know the answers to this, all right? Just draw up a very quick table with two columns. What's different about the promises that they have? What's different about your bonuses that you are offering versus their bonuses? What about the sales page? By looking at the headline of the sales page, you will know how your promise is different from theirs. Now, this is what I call a competitor audit. And when you do this kind of an audit, it'll be easy for you to know where are your marked differences. So the question here is, how do you know who you're even going to look at? Who are your competitors? If your product didn't exist, and if someone comes to you and they ask you for help with that particular area, who will you send them to? All right, who will you refer them to go and check out? That's one way of looking at it. Now, the second way is, have you ever received any kind of comments or feedback from your subscribers or your readers? Have they ever said, by the way, I am considering your course and this other person's course, or your product and this other person's product. Can you let me know what exactly is the difference? This is data that is gold, because when your readers and your subscribers are telling you that they are comparing you with this other person, whether you consider them a competitor or not, what matters is that your audience is viewing your product and that other person's product on the same plane. So those are your competitors, and their product is what you need to go and have a look at. Now, this is what it means to bake marketing into the product creation process. All right, you have not written a single line, you have not shot one video. What you're just doing is trying to figure out how you're going to package this product. And when you bake marketing into the product creation process, your product is going to come out a lot stronger, because you're not going to make decisions in hindsight. Every single piece of content that you are creating for your product, the way you are going to be thinking about launching your product is based on solid research. It's based on solid data, which is why you should not think about how you're going to be marketing your product after creating your product. You should be thinking about how you're going to be marketing your product way before. And everything that I've been speaking about, okay, doing your competitor audit, seeing how you're going to package your product in terms of benefits and outcomes, all right, all of this forms a part of the marketing process. Now, the second thing you need to consider, we are moving now from the internal aspects. We spoke about packaging, we spoke about you versus others, we spoke about marketing before product creation. Now we're going to move out to the external portion of it. What are a few of the external factors that you need to consider so that your digital product sells? First thing is to have an interest list. So what exactly is an interest list? An interest list is a group of people, could be your subscribers, it could be anyone that comes into contact with your brand. These are people who have raised their hands and said that they are interested in this offer. Now, this is very different from pre-selling your product. I know pre-selling is a very, very huge strategy that a lot of people talk about. Honestly, I am not a huge fan of pre-selling. Pre-selling does have its merits, but I prefer to have an interest list. So what exactly is an interest list? This is a group of subscribers or anyone that comes into contact with your brand, and these are people who actually raise their hands and say that they are interested in getting this offer. So you could call it an interest list, you could call it a VIP list. Now, how is this interest list or VIP list useful? You are building a list of potential buyers, right? So when you open cart, when you launch this product, even if it's your first product, you will not launch it to zero sales, which is the fear that a lot of people have when they create their first digital product. And this fear actually becomes a reality for a lot of people, right? So to not have that, to not launch to crickets, you have a VIP or an interest list. Now, what are some ways you can build up this interest list? You can have a very simple email sequence go out to your subscribers, and at the end of that email sequence, even if you have nothing for sale, you can pitch them your VIP list. All right, talk about the benefits of this offer, talk about the outcomes and the promises of this offer, and pitch them your VIP list. You can tell them that VIPs perhaps might get an early bird offer. Maybe they have exclusive bonuses that others don't. All right, this is how you would get people on your VIP or your interest list. Now, at the same time, you could also have blog posts or videos that are aligned with the topic of your offer, and you could also pitch your readers or your viewers or your listeners your VIP list within that piece of content. So you don't ever have to worry about launching to crickets ever again. Now, the next thing you need to consider is to have a clear pre-launch phase. So what exactly is this pre-launch phase? This is everything that happens before you open cart to your offer. Now, what is the purpose of this pre-launch? A pre-launch is not just there for show, right? There are a few different goals that your pre-launch content has to fulfill. Number one, it has to get your audience aware of the problem that your offer is solving. Because imagine if they're not even aware of the problem, if they're not aware of the pain point, there is no point in sending those people to a sales page. It is very similar to sending ice cold traffic to a sales page, and those are people who are not primed, they're not aware, they have no a kind of sense as to what your offer can do for them. All right, that is an audience that is not primed. So you only want to send people who are primed to your sales page, and that is what your pre-launch has to do. It has to bring awareness, it has to get them aware of the problem, it has to help to get your audience to view you as someone they can trust when it comes to this offer. So this is what I call the content expert association, right? If you have no trust, if you don't have credibility or authority with your audience, it is very difficult for someone to go on and buy from you. And if you are brand new to this topic, it doesn't mean that you have to be scared. It doesn't mean that you have to kind of not launch this particular product. You can absolutely do so. Have a slightly longer pre-launch and build up this credibility and build up this authority. Now, when I talk about pre-launch, most people usually freak out because they think about all of this content that they're going to be giving away, and then they worry about how to not have that encroach on their paid content, right? So this is kind of like the framework that I follow whenever I am deciding on what pre-launch content to include, what kind of webinar I'm going to deliver, what topics should this webinar deliver on. This is the framework that I usually follow. If your product teaches someone how to do something, then give them the type of content that talks about the why. All right, so your emails or your blog posts or your videos can talk about the why. If your product teaches a process, right? Maybe it's a 5-step method, or maybe it's a framework, then your content in your pre-launch, this could be videos, blog posts, emails, like I mentioned, can talk about the importance of having that process. But not just that, you could take one method or one step or one element of your framework and then break it down, and you could tell your audience that your product teaches the other few steps. Or you could just give an overview of the process, right? And the actual how-to of how to execute on this method or step or framework, that would be what your product would cover. If your product is maybe spreadsheets or templates or swipe files, your content can talk about the importance of having that kind of a template or a swipe file. Okay, so you could be covering the why in your pre-launch content. Now, another thing you need to consider is for the actual launch, are you injecting urgency? So why should someone purchase now and not later? When you inject urgency into your launch, it gets people to take action. It gets them off the fence. All right, so some of the elements for you to inject urgency are time-sensitive bonuses, open and close cart dates. You could say that you are maybe raising your prices. You could also have special bonuses. All of these help to inject urgency into your launch. Now, the next element you need to consider are your sales emails. Okay, so your sales emails are more than just saying you have got 12 hours left, you have got 20 hours left. So it should not just do that, and that is a mistake that a lot of people make. Okay, your sales emails are there for a reason. They are about answering critical questions that people have about your offer. They are about countering objections that people may have about your offer as well. These are the things that you need to put into your sales emails rather than just focusing on the timeline. So a question that I was asked a couple of times is why I don't include the timer in my sales emails. And I don't do it for all of my sales emails, because imagine if you're going to have the timer on each and every one of your sales emails, it kind of loses that effectiveness. It loses its effect. In the entire span of those sales emails, I only leave it for the last 2 to 3 of them. So if you want to create a digital product that sells, if you want to know how to launch it right, these are your key considerations. And I have made mistakes in every one of these elements. So everything that I've shared with you here today are things that I have tweaked and tested and corrected along the way. So give these elements a think, and I have a free email course called Get Product Ready. If you're creating your first or next digital product and you want to get some strategies, you want to get some tips, then sign up for the email course. I'm leaving the link in the description below. So if you enjoyed this video, like this and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.